No one told you this, but the greatest social power you can have is not in looks, nor money, nor the exaggerated charisma everyone tries to force. The real power, the power that truly shifts rooms, conversations, and destinies, is silent, invisible, and it dominates those who understand the hidden rules of the human mind. Most people live blind to this, reacting to the world like pieces on a board they don't understand. But those who master this art, they play the game. They aren't played by it. And here's an uncomfortable truth. You don't have a communication problem. You have a perception problem. People don't react to what you say. They react to what you radiate. Your energy enters the environment 5 seconds before your body. And while you think you're just talking, your face, your posture, your emotions, and your intentions have already said everything for you. Is it unfair? Maybe. Is it powerful? Absolutely. Imagine for a moment having the ability to understand people in seconds, to predict behaviors before they happen, to notice what no one else notices. Hidden emotions, silent tensions, disguised desires, lies subtly exposed, truths leaking through the eyes. Imagine influencing without pressuring, connecting without begging, leading without forcing. This is what social mastery offers, a type of power no one sees, but everyone feels. And the most curious part is that this power doesn't require natural talent. It doesn't require being outgoing. It doesn't require having an active social life. It requires something else, awareness. An internal shift that adjusts your energy, your presence, and your reading of the world. An identity shift so deep that even the people around you begin to change without knowing why. You speak less, but are heard more. You do less and impact more. Get ready, because from this point on, you won't just learn to communicate. You'll learn to see what no one sees. And when you see the invisible, nothing in your social life stays the. He always said that when someone opens their mouth, only half the truth appears. The rest lives hidden in their gaze, their tone of voice, their breathing rhythm. And it's in this silent territory that social awareness awakens, showing that human behavior is like a secret language few truly study. Those who understand this stop paying attention only to what someone says and start noticing what someone reveals without realizing it. That's where the real reading of the soul begins. And strangely, the more you see, the more you notice that everything changes. He also learned, by observing people in everyday life, that no one acts for no reason. Every harsh reply, timid smile, or sudden withdrawal carries a story. When someone overreacts to something small, it's almost always an old wound asking for attention. This perception brings inner clarity, because you stop taking things personally. Instead of reacting, you understand. Instead of getting hurt, you decode. And this simple shift can completely transform how you relate to the world. And the most interesting thing is that as you start analyzing behaviors like this, judgment disappears. He realized that even difficult people carry invisible reasons they themselves can't explain. This awakens a refined, mature emotional intelligence, one that isn't learned in books but in presence, attention, and genuine curiosity. It's like you begin to see a hidden panel inside every person. And the more you observe, the more you realize these signals are always there, waiting for someone willing to notice. One day, he told a friend, "Have you noticed how some people talk too fast when they're afraid?" The friend laughed, but realized it was true. It's amazing how the body reveals what the mouth tries to hide. Discomfort appears in the bouncing foot, the hand tightening the phone, the eyes that avoid contact. When you develop silent influence, understanding this isn't manipulation, it's connection. You create space for the person to breathe, relax, and show who they truly are. That gesture alone changes any social dynamic. There's also something powerful in noticing that even silence has intentions. Sometimes someone stays quiet because they're reflecting, other times because they're insecure, and in some cases because they're protecting themselves. He began treating silence as a different kind of speech, but equally important. This perception brings identity shift because it changes how you interpret people. Instead of filling silence with anxiety, you fill it with curiosity, and that internal shift opens doors that hurry keeps closed. Observing microexpressions became almost a ritual for him. the eyebrow that rises for half a second, the corner of the mouth that stiffens, the shoulder that relaxes when hearing a certain phrase. Most ignore these because everything happens too fast, but those who practice full attention begin to catch them. And if you want to train this, he suggests something simple. Observe 3 people a day and try to identify an emotion before they verbalize it. Over time, your social awareness becomes so sharp it feels like a sixth sense. He also noticed how people reveal their fears without realizing it. Those who were heavily criticized tend to ask permission just to exist. Those betrayed before see threats where there are none. Those raised in chaos carry urgency even when unnecessary. Understanding this fosters inner clarity, because you realize it isn't about you. It's about the story the other person carries. And when you see things this way, everything shifts. Your patience grows, your respect deepens, and your empathy becomes active, not theoretical. In some situations, he would even joke that everyone is just trying to feel safe. The method changes, that's all. Some shout, others shut down. Some exaggerate, others hide. But all try to avoid pain. This understanding elevates your emotional intelligence, because behavior stops looking strange and starts making sense. You no longer see difficult people. You see hurt people. And that creates a strategic compassion that doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you. He also understood that when you can read these deeper layers, you avoid unnecessary conflicts. Instead of reacting impulsively, you recognize the intention behind the reaction. Want an example? When someone responds coldly, you can ask, "Did something happen today?" instead of snapping back. This disarms any tension. That's the essence of silent influence. Changing the environment without raising your voice. It's invisible influence, but extremely powerful. And there's more. By understanding the hidden language of people, you naturally improve your own expression. He began asking himself, what is my body saying when I stay quiet? What does my breathing reveal when I'm anxious? This level of analysis triggers a true identity shift because you start communicating not only outwardly, but inwardly. You listen to yourself, decode yourself, adjust yourself, and that generates an internal security no one can take away. Over time, he realized life becomes much lighter when you understand that nothing is random. People give signals all the time, and when you know how to interpret them, you avoid misunderstandings, create smarter connections, and become someone people respect naturally. It's like having a map while everyone else walks in the dark. That advantage, refined with practice, changes not only relationships but opportunities. And as he deepened this subtle reading, he felt that every behavior carried a hidden invitation. Understand the other to understand yourself. Because, in the end, all external interpretation eventually reveals something internal. And that perception opens space for a new level of awareness, one that naturally leads you to the next step of the journey. He always said that human behavior is like a mirror. It doesn't show what a person wants, but who they truly are in that moment. When someone repeats the same pattern, avoiding, pleasing, controlling, it reveals old emotional experiences hidden inside them. And the more you develop social awareness, the more you notice that no one acts in a vacuum. Every gesture carries a past, a pain, a belief. Behavior is the clue, not the problem. And seeing this changes how you interpret the world. Over time, he realized that what bothers you in another person is often a reflection of your own shadow. When someone irritates you for being insecure, maybe it's because you also struggle with your own insecurity. This perception brings inner clarity, because it strips away ego's mask and reveals truths we try to ignore. Life returns exactly what we need to see, not what we want. It's uncomfortable, but liberating. And this is how the emotional mirror begins to work. He learned that repetitive behaviors are like internal alarms. If someone avoids confrontation, it's because an old conflict wasn't resolved. If someone controls everything, it's because they fear losing something important. This strong reading grows when you nurture emotional intelligence, because you start seeing beyond the surface. You recognize that behavior is a symptom, and what's behind it deserves care, not criticism. One day, he advised a friend who complained about always attracting cold people. He replied, "Maybe you're projecting the coldness you received in the past?" The friend went silent but understood. That's the magic of the mirror. It doesn't accuse, it reveals. And when you have the courage to look, a deep identity shift begins. You ask yourself, what in me is making this pattern return? That question alone transforms your perception. He also realized that people react according to what they carry inside, not what happens outside. Someone who grew up hearing criticism tends to interpret any opinion as an attack. Someone who received affection interprets correction as care. Knowing this strengthens your social awareness, because it stops you from taking reactions as truths about you. They're just reflections of the other person's past. And more, learning to differentiate what is yours from what is theirs prevents a lot of suffering. He always told people to practice a simple question. When someone reacts harshly, ask yourself, did this come from me or from their story? This brings instant inner clarity. It removes the emotional weight from your shoulders and returns it to its context. It's a silent liberation. He also noticed that when someone tries to please everyone, there's almost always fear of rejection behind it. When they try to control everything, fear of loss. When they push people away, fear of being hurt. These secret fears shape actions. And when you see this with emotional intelligence, you understand that those who hurt others aren't evil. They're just trying to protect themselves with the strategies they learned. In conversations, he would say, you don't behave like who you want to be. You behave like who you believe you are. That is the core of identity shift. Behavior is the shell, belief is the motor. So if someone wants to change their life, they need to change their self-image. But that change begins by looking into the mirror without fear. Because what you avoid looking at controls you. What you face frees you. He also saw that once you understand the emotional mirror, you respond better to others. Instead of becoming defensive, you become curious. Instead of accusing, you ask. Instead of retaliating, you understand. This is silent influence. You shift emotional energy without raising your voice. The other person feels the impact and calms down because they sense they're facing someone who doesn't join the emotional chaos. They guide it. This applies even more in the professional world. He advised leaders who couldn't understand why their teams feared them, even though they were kind. Eventually, they realized the fear came from past experiences of the employees, not their current actions. This comprehension requires social awareness, because leading is understanding the emotional map of others. It's like navigating a sea full of invisible currents, and those who read these currents go further. Over time, he realized that the mirror isn't just for interpreting others, it's for adjusting yourself. When he noticed he acted explosively, he asked, what does this say about me? When he avoided important conversations, he asked, what am I running from? These questions provoke inner clarity, because they dismantle internal illusions. It's uncomfortable, but deeply transformative. And gradually, this subtle skill opens the natural path to something even deeper. Not just understanding behavior in mirrors, but the emotional universe that guides every human decision. He always said emotions are not enemies, they are compasses. While many try to suppress feelings, he learned that each emotion carries a valuable message. Anger points to disrespected boundaries. Sadness reveals something that matters. Joy indicates alignment. When you develop social awareness, you realize your emotions don't appear out of nowhere. They react to what your story recognizes. And when you begin listening to them, everything changes. Over time, he understood that ignoring an emotion is like turning off a GPS in the middle of an unknown road. You can continue, but you'll walk lost. Cultivating inner clarity is like cleaning the windshield. The landscape doesn't change, but your view does. Instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this, he started asking, why am I feeling this? That simple question turns confusion into clarity, a small act with huge impact. He also realized that anger isn't synonymous with explosion. It's a request for justice. When someone feels anger at being ignored at work, it shows their inner value wants recognition. That's where emotional intelligence comes in. Instead of blowing up, he learned to channel it. He took a breath, wrote down what he felt, and only then talked. It sounds basic, but small practices like this avoid major damage and build silent authority. Sadness, on the other hand, he learned to see as a sign of loss. Sometimes the loss isn't of someone, but of an expectation, a plan, a version of oneself. Emotionally intelligent people don't run from sadness. They listen. He often suggested, write the reason for your sadness in 3 sentences. Just 3. This brings instant inner clarity, because it forces you to summarize what feels nebulous. When you understand your pain, it loses the power to disorganize you. Joy is underestimated. He said joy is your body saying, continue this way. And those who ignore their joy create a life without brightness. People with social awareness notice what energizes and what drains them. That's why he recommended identifying 3 activities that bring genuine joy, not distraction. Reading, training, walking, creating. Joy gives routes. You just need to follow them. He also understood that mastering emotions isn't eliminating them. It's guiding them. Those who suppress everything become walking pressure cookers. Those who express everything become emotional wildfires. Balance comes with emotional intelligence. When you learn to feel without exploding, express without hurting, channel without losing control, this turns anyone into someone emotionally rare, and the rare ones always earn respect. One exercise he taught was the 10-second pause. When he felt something too intense, he made 10 seconds of internal silence. No judgment, no reaction. In that pause, the emotion loses power and awareness gains space. This habit creates silent influence because it completely shifts how you respond and, therefore, how others perceive you. Instead of seeming impulsive, you seem strategic. Another practice he used was the 3-minute emotional journal. He wrote everything he felt about situations and then read it as if reading someone else's story. This unlocked deep inner clarity, because looking at your emotion from the outside reveals patterns you don't see from within. And once you recognize them, they begin to dissolve, not by force, but by awareness. He also discovered that emotionally mature people accurately label their feelings. It's not, I feel bad. It's, I'm frustrated because I expected recognition. It's not, I'm sad. It's, I'm disappointed because something I value was ignored. This refinement is the foundation of emotional intelligence, because what you can name, you can control. Over time, he saw that emotional mastery is a process of identity shift. The more you understand your emotions, the more you understand who you really are. And the more you act aligned with your inner world, the less you react to the outer world. You become the protagonist, not a hostage. Emotions stop being roller coasters and become compasses, steady, clear, reliable. This emotional maturity does something extraordinary. It makes you immune to other people's chaos. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't react. When someone offends you, you don't absorb it. When someone yells, you remain calm. This stability is pure silent influence. You don't win by shouting louder. You win by being unshakable. People like this inspire respect effortlessly. And as he strengthened this mastery, he realized emotions don't just guide decisions, they shape realities. The more you understand these internal signals, the more prepared you become to access deeper human abilities, especially the ones dealing with authentic influence, inner energy, and deep connection. He always said true influence doesn't come from force, shouting, or convincing. It comes from who you are when no one is watching. That's why calm people have more impact than loud ones. When you develop social awareness, you notice that no one listens to words first. They listen to presence. Influence begins within, and only after does it appear outwardly. Over time, he understood manipulation is a cheap shortcut, while true influence is construction. Manipulation breaks trust, influence builds it. And this construction begins by calibrating your emotional energy. When you align your inner clarity, your actions stop being reactive and start being intentional. People are attracted to intention, not desperation. Influence comes from grounding, not rushing. He also observed that people remember less of what you say and more of how you make them feel. That's pure emotional intelligence. If you speak with arrogance, they close off. If you speak calmly, they relax. If you speak clearly, they trust. It seems simple, but few notice how the emotion behind your message shapes the response. That's why he always asked himself, what emotion do I want to transmit? That single gesture shifts any conversation. A practical example he loved was the no-defense conversation. If someone came at him with aggression, instead of matching it, he breathed deeply and said, "It seems this really bothered you. Want to explain better?" That line disarms any attack. It's pure silent influence, shifting the emotional climate without trying to win the argument. You change energy before words. He learned that influence is a consequence of coherence. When your words match your actions, people follow naturally. When they don't, people doubt. He always said coherence is more persuasive than any technique. And that alignment is where identity shift happens. You stop trying to seem trustworthy and start being trustworthy. Your aura shifts, your energy shifts, people feel it. In many conversations, he saw that those who try hardest to convince are the least convinced of themselves. Anxiety shows in their eyes, in their tone, in their body. That's why before trying to influence, he adjusted himself internally. He paused, breathed, aligned posture and clarity. This strengthened his social awareness because it made him conscious of the environment and the other person's emotions before acting. He discovered that true influence requires listening. People open up when they feel heard. And listening isn't waiting for your turn to speak. It's entering someone else's world for a moment. This active listening is core to emotional intelligence because it lets you respond more humanly, precisely, strategically. When you listen deeply, you influence deeply. A simple technique he taught was lightly mirroring the last emotional sentence someone said. If a person said, "I'm tired of this," he responded, "I can imagine how tiring this must be for you." That validation creates instant connection. It's silent influence because you don't try to change their opinion. You change how they feel. And those who feel safe open up. He realized influence doesn't require speed. Those who influence truly know how to wait for the right moment. Sometimes silence influences more than words. Sometimes stepping back influences more than confronting. This wisdom comes from inner clarity, recognizing that timing is also a tool. Influence isn't a sprint, it's emotional chess. Those who understand this play better. Over time, he understood real impact happens when you stop trying to impress. When you just exist as you are. People sense authenticity from afar, and authenticity is magnetic. That's why so many doors open effortlessly when you live from your identity shift. Influence isn't about dominating others. It's about dominating yourself. The more you master yourself, the more naturally the world follows. He saw that the most powerful influence happens when you inspire, not push. Inspiration is showing a path that makes sense and living it. It's almost invisible, but incredibly deep. That depth grows with social awareness, sensing what people need to feel, not just what they need to hear. And as he deepened this understanding of silent influence, he noticed something even more fascinating. People don't just respond to your energy, they mirror it. They reflect exactly what you radiate. And that opens the door to the next level of this journey. He always repeated that people are like walking mirrors. They return whatever you emit. The energy you carry, calmness, anxiety, firmness, chaos, echoes through the environment without you noticing. When you develop social awareness, you realize tense environments aren't tense by accident. Someone brought that energy. And light environments also have a source. Energy doesn't lie, and people reflect what they feel around you. Over time, he understood there's no point trying to control others' behavior if you're the source of instability. If you enter a place irritated, irritation spreads. If you enter smiling, ease spreads. It sounds mystical, but it's pure social psychology. This understanding brings inner clarity because it shows that changing the outside begins with changing the inside. More responsibility, but much more power. He tested this in everyday situations. When someone was tense, he intentionally spoke slower, softened his tone, and smiled gently. Within a minute, the person relaxed. This is silent influence. You don't say calm down. You embody calmness. And the other person's body follows. It's impressive how a room changes without any sophisticated technique. It's instinctive biology. He noticed posture shapes conversations too. When he arrived insecure, people became more critical. When he arrived with calm firmness, people became more receptive. He realized, it's not what I say, it's what I radiate. That's the essence of emotional intelligence, Emotions are contagious. You're always influencing people, whether you want to or not. A real example: a friend complained that everyone was rude to him. But watching him for a few minutes made it obvious. He walked tense, rigid, closed. People weren't rude. They were mirroring his rigidity. When he softened internally, the world softened externally. A true identity shift happens when you change inside, and everything responds outside. He practiced an energy reset. When he noticed irritation building, he paused for 30 seconds, breathed deeply, and adjusted posture. It changed his emotional field instantly. People with inner clarity don't drag emotions from one situation into the next. Every moment deserves fresh energy. This avoids conflicts, tension, and invisible pressure. He discovered calm people attract trust. Anxious people attract concern. Aggressive people attract defense. Every emotion has a frequency, and the world answers with the same frequency. This boosts social awareness because it helps predict reactions. Bring kindness, receive kindness. Bring harshness, receive harshness. It's the mirror effect in real time. He realized if you want someone to be more open, be open first. If you want someone to be calm first. If you want to be heard, hear first. That's silent influence applied. You don't force, you model. Humans learn by emotional contagion, not by imposition. He recommended setting a pre-intention before entering a room. I will bring peace. I will bring clarity. I will bring confidence. It shifts your body, voice, and gaze. And with that, you influence the room before speaking a word. That's emotional intelligence turned into habit. He saw that the more aligned you are internally, the more people align with you. Coherence creates safety. Incoherence creates doubt. This is a key part of identity shift. You evolve internally, and the world treats you differently without knowing why. He realized the mirror effect also diagnoses your own state. If people tense around you, maybe you're tense. If they open up, maybe you're open. This is like an emotional control panel. People with inner clarity use it to grow. And as he explored this deeper understanding, he discovered something even more powerful. Not just getting people to reflect your energy, but learning to anchor your presence so deeply that people naturally synchronize with you, which leads to the next level. He always said that in a world where everyone lives distracted, presence has become a superpower. People are no longer used to someone who truly looks into their eyes, who truly listens, who truly is there. When you develop social awareness, you notice the obvious that almost no one sees. Being present is rare, and everything rare becomes valuable. Presence is so powerful that it can change the atmosphere of a room without you saying a single word. Over time, he understood that presence isn't about being quiet, it's about being whole. It's when your mind isn't stuck in the past, your body isn't restless, and your attention isn't divided into 10 mental tabs. It's a state of deep inner clarity, where you can perceive every detail, tone, gesture, the other person's emotional vibration. And interestingly, when you are present, others become present too. It's a magnetizing effect. He always observed how true leaders are not the ones who speak the loudest, but the ones who occupy space with silent firmness. This firmness comes from silent influence, an authority so natural it requires no effort. You've probably noticed that some people enter a room and everyone senses it, not out of arrogance, but because they arrive whole, aligned, grounded. Their presence speaks before their words do. A simple example, when he talked to someone, he kept his phone in his pocket. He didn't check notifications, didn't glance at the screen, didn't drift off. He said the highest form of respect is offering total attention. That activated his emotional intelligence because it allowed him to catch what wasn't being said. Tone, discomfort, the shine in someone's eyes. He discovered you learn more about a person in 5 minutes of real presence than in an hour of distracted conversation. He also realized presence creates instant trust. People feel seen, valued, validated. It's as if you're saying, without words, you matter. And when you develop social awareness, you notice that most people have never experienced this, which is why a simple gesture of deep attention becomes unforgettable. You don't speak to impress. You impress by being there. One exercise he taught was the conscious gaze. When someone talked to him, he observed micro gestures, breathing, whether it sped up or slowed down, posture, whether it opened or closed, eyes, whether they looked away or sought connection. This type of observation trains emotional intelligence because it helps you understand the other person's emotional state without them needing to explain. It's like reading an open book in real time. He also understood that being present means feeling your own body. For that, he used the body check-in, relaxing the jaw, loosening the shoulders, adjusting his breath. These micro-adjustments create inner clarity because they pull your mind out of the future and into the now. And when you're in the now, your energy stabilizes, your voice changes, your posture changes. You radiate something rare, conscious calm. He said presence is so powerful it can transform even conflicts. One day, someone attacked him verbally. Instead of reacting, he took a breath, grounded himself, and answered slowly, "Let's understand what happened." That response didn't come from his head. It came from his center. That is the strength of silent influence. You disarm attacks without raising your voice. Only someone who is fully present can maintain that posture. Another key point he discovered is that presence increases natural charisma. You don't need to be funny, attractive, or extremely intelligent. The simple act of being whole already sets you apart from 99% of people. And those with social awareness know that charisma isn't charm, it's connection. The more present you are, the more people feel safe around you. It's not talent, it's training. He also applied presence to productivity. Before each task, he removed distractions for 90 seconds, closed tabs, put his phone away, breathed deeply. That ritual taught his brain to enter focus mode. This emotional discipline requires identity shift because you stop being someone buried by distractions and become someone who commands focus. Over time, he noticed presence isn't static. It's a silent dialogue between you and the moment. And this dialogue has rhythm, breath, energy. When you cultivate inner clarity, you learn to feel this rhythm. And when you feel it, you act better, speak better, perceive better. Your communication becomes more precise, your energy more stable, your influence more natural. And as he dove deeper into the art of being whole in the now, he realized the body speaks too, loudly. And when the body says one thing and the mouth says another, the world notices. This understanding naturally led him to the next level of social intelligence, the silent language of body communication. He always said the body speaks before the mouth does, and it speaks louder. Body communication is so powerful that an insecure posture can ruin a perfect sentence, and a firm gaze can save a simple one. When you develop social awareness, you realize the body reveals intentions, emotions, and truths the person doesn't even know they're showing. Learning this invisible language is a massive social advantage. Over time, he understood the body never lies. The mouth tries to hide, but the body exposes. Tense shoulders reveal worry. Feet pointing toward the exit show the desire to end a conversation. Restless hands show anxiety. Having inner clarity helps you identify this without judgment, simply observing. He said understanding body language is like watching a subtitled movie while everyone else sees it without translation. He noticed posture is the first business card. Before you say anything, your posture already says whether you're confident, shy, irritated, open, or closed. He suggested a simple exercise. Before entering any environment, straighten your spine, relax your shoulders, breathe deeply. This micro-adjustment creates stable presence. And that stability strengthens your silent influence, because posture communicates calm and control. Another important detail was the gaze. People who avoid eye contact appear insecure. People who stare intensely appear aggressive. The secret is balance. Gentle, firm, intermittent eye contact. That balance is pure emotional intelligence, because it requires reading the other person's comfort level and adjusting yours. He said, "Don't look to dominate, look to connect." This small shift changes everything. He discovered hands speak too loudly. Open hands communicate transparency. Closed hands communicate tension. He observed experienced leaders using smooth, fluid gestures. It transmitted authority without aggression. To train this, he recommended recording yourself talking for 30 seconds and watching your own gestures. This generates inner clarity, revealing habits you don't see in real time. Distance also matters. Getting too close invades. Staying too far creates coldness. Finding the middle ground is a social dance. When you master it, your social awareness increases drastically because you understand emotional space. He said strong relationships begin with respecting boundaries, physical and emotional, and those who calibrate this well become naturally respected. He emphasized the power of the voice. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Anxious people speed up, confident people slow down. Confused people change tone. Confident people stay stable. Adjusting your voice creates powerful silent influence because people feel your energy through sound. He suggested an exercise. Read aloud for 2 minutes while reducing your pace by 20%. This transforms communication. In many conversations, he noticed incoherent body communication creates instant distrust. When the body says one thing and the mouth another, the brain sounds an alert. It's instinctive. That's why authenticity is essential. Internal coherence, posture, voice, and words aligned, creates natural trust. This is part of identity shift because it requires being truthful, not just appearing truthful. He used soft mirroring often, crossing legs when the other crossed, leaning in when the other leaned. Done lightly, it creates instant connection. It's not imitation, it's harmonizing. This is emotional intelligence in practice, adjusting your rhythm to match the others for connection. Done authentically, it works like magic. One of the most interesting lessons he taught was, observe the feet. Feet reveal intention. If they point toward you, the person is present. If toward the door, they want to leave. If restless, something is bothering them. This boosts social awareness, revealing the truth behind the conversation. Feet often tell more than the face. Over time, he realized body communication is actually self-knowledge expressed physically. The more you understand your inner world, the more coherent your body becomes. And the more coherent your body, the more trust you inspire. This is a silent but noticeable identity shift. People start treating you as someone stable, grounded, centered, and that changes everything. And as he mastered nonverbal communication, he realized something deeper. There's a level of human connection that doesn't depend on posture or gestures, but on emotional resonance. And that leads to the next topic. He always said that when two people enter emotional sync, something powerful happens. It's not technique, it's not manipulation, it's pure humanity. Emotional mirroring is when you capture the other person's tone, rhythm, and emotional vibration, responding in the same frequency. When you develop social awareness, you notice this creates instant connection, as if the two hearts were talking before the words. Over time, he understood mirroring is not copying, it's resonating. Imitation feels fake, resonance feels natural. Like when someone talks about something sad and you instinctively lower your energy. Not out of politeness, but empathy. This comes from emotional intelligence, teaching you to feel before you respond. When someone feels you are truly with them, their defenses drop. He observed emotional mirroring works even with difficult people. When someone speaks quickly and agitatedly, replying too slowly creates friction. But if you match their pace slightly before slowing down, you build a bridge. This is silent influence, guiding without imposing. He used this in tense discussions, first synchronizing, then leading. It worked like magic. One example he loved was comforting someone without speaking. If the person cried, he didn't say, "Stop crying." He simply breathed more slowly, stayed stable, and grounded. In minutes, the person followed his breathing. This is pure mirroring. It requires inner clarity, because only someone centered can offer stability to someone falling apart emotionally. He discovered mirroring creates familiarity, and familiarity creates trust. It's like meeting someone who just gets you. In truth, they know how to harmonize emotionally. They sense your rhythm, your energy, your internal state. This amplifies social awareness, helping you notice subtle cues. The hesitant smile, the long pause, the fragile tone. He used verbal emotional reflection often. When someone said, "I'm frustrated," he replied, "I can sense the frustration in your tone. It must be heavy for you." This validation requires emotional intelligence, helping the other person feel seen, respected, understood, and that opens doors no argument ever could. He taught that mirroring is a bridge, not a destination. You mirror first to create connection, then you guide to create direction. Wise people turn fights into conversations through this. It's refined silent influence. The softer it is, the stronger it becomes. It guides without forcing. He warned that fake empathy destroys trust. When someone imitates gestures, tone, or emotions mechanically, the other person's nervous system detects it immediately. The body recognizes authenticity without thinking. True mirroring begins inside, with clean intention, presence, and inner clarity. Technique without truth becomes theater. Truth without technique becomes connection. He noticed mirroring shaped his leadership. With shy people, he softened his energy. With energetic people, he opened his. Adapting without losing essence. This balance reveals an identity shift, flexible, but grounded. Emotional flexibility is maturity. He recommended a simple exercise. Initial frequency. Before responding, observe the other person's energy for 2 seconds. High, low, firm, fragile. Start your response at their frequency. Then guide them toward where you want. It's elegant emotional intelligence. Over time, he realized emotional mirroring is not just a social tool, it's a gift. A way of saying, I see you. And when someone feels seen, they open, trust, relax. This changes every relationship, personal or professional. And as he deepened this understanding, he realized that while questions create clarity, few people know how to ask truly transformative questions. And that leads to the next topic. He always said questions are keys. Every question opens a different door. Some reveal truths, others heal wounds, others dissolve conflicts. With social awareness, you understand that great questions don't exist to get answers, but to create connection. Asking is an art, because genuine curiosity is rare, and everything rare is powerful. Over time, he realized deep questions have a strange effect. They make the other person think about themselves. He often asked, "What did you really want to say, but didn't?" That single question created inner clarity, forcing the person to access feelings they had buried. He said the right questions act like flashlights, illuminating what the person couldn't see alone. He understood good questions require presence. You can't ask something deep while your mind is elsewhere. That's why he activated his emotional intelligence before asking important questions, breathing, observing, feeling the emotional climate. Questions asked at the right time transform a conversation. Rushed questions ruin connection. A real example. In conflicts, instead of defending himself, he asked, "What do you really need me to understand right now?" This question is transformative. It disarms attacks because it turns reaction into reflection. It reflects silent influence, shifting emotional tone without escalation. He also used questions to heal resentment. When someone said they were upset, he asked, "What part of this hurt you the most?" The first answer is almost never the real one. Often the pain isn't in the fact, but in the interpretation. That question brings inner clarity, helping the person reach the root. Another technique was the expansive question. When someone talked about a goal, he asked, "If nothing stopped you, what would the best version of that look like?" This opens imagination and reveals hidden blocks. It invites identity shift, because visualizing who you could be is the first step to becoming that person. He knew questions create intimacy. Asking about someone's internal life builds connection instantly. He asked, "What has been the most meaningful moment of your week?" Or, "What's been keeping you awake lately?" These awaken social awareness, showing you value the person's inner world. In leadership, he used questions to awaken consciousness. Instead of commanding, he asked, "How would you handle this if you were in my position?" This empowers and reveals ideas. It activates the other person's emotional intelligence. In relationships, he asked, "How can I support you in a way that truly helps?" That creates immediate emotional closeness. It's silent influence, guiding without imposing. He understood deep questions work only when sincere. A forced question feels invasive. Authenticity is key, and it reflects an internal identity shift, changing from asking to control to asking to understand. Over time, he realized people change when questioned, not when commanded. Questions activate responsibility, awareness, reflection. They make the other person move from reaction to consciousness. It's the strongest form of transformation. And as he refined the skill, he saw that listening, truly listening, was even more powerful than asking, which leads to the next and final topic of the journey. He always said listening is an act of courage. Listening deeply isn't being silent while the other person talks. It's entering their world. When you develop social awareness, you realize most people don't want quick answers. They want to be understood. Deep listening offers exactly that, emotional shelter. Over time, he understood no one teaches us how to listen. People teach speaking, presenting, arguing, but listening is ignored. Maybe that's why it's rare. Listening requires inner clarity, because you must quiet your internal noise to hear the other person's internal noise. A calm mind perceives nuances, a long pause, a low sigh, a shifted tone. He noticed most want to be heard, but few want to hear. That's where the advantage is. Those who listen become unforgettable. He said listening is like holding an emotional mirror. The person sees themselves through their own words. That awakens emotional intelligence in both people. A real example, when someone vented to him, he resisted giving advice immediately. Instead, he asked, "Do you want me to listen or help?" This avoided misunderstandings. Often, people just want to be heard. That's silent influence. You guide without pushing. He learned that listening validates people. Vulnerability met with presence builds trust. Deep connection isn't built by the right words, but by the right listening. Those who practice conscious listening develop sharp social awareness, feeling emotions before words appear. He understood listening requires curiosity, not invasive curiosity, but human curiosity. Instead of assuming, he asked, "What did you mean by that?" This avoids misinterpretation and boosts emotional intelligence, allowing the other person to clarify their truth. He said listening is presence in its purest form. When you truly listen, people feel important, and that creates instant connection. It's silent influence, because the listener becomes an emotional anchor. In tense moments, he listened to the emotion behind criticism. Often the emotion wasn't anger, but fear, exhaustion, pain. Listening beyond words generates inner clarity, showing that many attacks aren't about you. He used reflective listening, responding with, "So you're feeling?" This gives clarity to the other person and acts like informal therapy. It reveals an identity shift, turning someone from a conversational partner into an emotional guide. He practiced conscious silence, 2 seconds of pause after the other person finished speaking. It made room for emotion to settle and for wisdom to respond. That's emotional intelligence at work. He noticed that great listeners don't need to force influence. They naturally attract it. People seek them out, trust them, reveal secrets to them. That's the peak of silent influence. And he understood something powerful. When someone listens deeply, worlds open. And all the skills learned, observing, mirroring, asking, listening, converge into something greater, social mastery. Now that you've walked through each hidden layer of the human mind, emotions, signals, behaviors, presence, energy, the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Because knowing without acting is just illusion. The silent power you discovered here doesn't just change conversations, it changes destinies. But it only works when you choose to apply it. When you decide to raise your level of awareness every day. When you adjust your energy before speaking. When you listen deeper than words. When you observe the signs everyone else ignores. So I ask you, will you keep reacting to the world or start influencing it? Will you stay stuck in the same patterns or provoke your own identity shift? Will you live like the majority, distracted, anxious, disconnected, or like the silent minority that masters unseen social power? Will you keep being interpreted or finally learn to interpret? The truth is simple and brutal. Social evolution begins the moment you decide to see deeper. And now you see. Now you know. Now you have the advantage. But knowledge only becomes power when applied. Use all of this. Test all of this. Observe everything. Turn every conversation into a laboratory of awareness. Turn every person into an emotional map. Turn every gesture into a code. Turn every silence into a clue. And before leaving this video, do something that keeps this evolution alive. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. Continue your journey of social mastery with me. Because the next level of this transformation doesn't happen alone. And I want to guide you, step by step, until you become someone the whole world feels, even before they hear you.